How did I quit my job by investing in HMOs? Let's take a look. So one thing I've not really done very much on this YouTube channel is tell my story, tell how I got to where I am today. And you might not know this, but before I got into property investing, I was actually a musician. I was a freelance musician. I played piano. And what I was doing when I got into property was teaching. I had a small business. I was really busy. I was teaching pretty much 6 days a week. I had a whole bunch of other teachers that were also teaching students as well. So I was managing the process, managing the parents. And that was quite all-encompassing. And then I was actually trying to grow that business and work out how I could scale that business when I fell into property. And that was back in 2015. I attended an event which was designed to help people grow businesses, and at that event was a lady speaking about how you could invest in property with no time and no money, and I was like, oh great, I want to do that. That's me. So I went and I did some training, got a mentor when I started, and then the rest is history. But what did that process from getting that initial start, that initial education, to quitting my job? And bear in mind that I didn't have the standard day job. I was running a business, and I know a lot of people who get into property are already quite entrepreneurial. They're already looking for ways to solve problems. So how did I do that? Well, the first thing I did was I had to learn how to take myself out of my business. So I was like, can I take that financial hit? Can I put someone else in place to help run it? And I decided, yes, I could. So I took myself out. I would then take the profit, but I would then pay someone else to do the teaching that I was doing. So I was replaced by 2 other teachers. I then was able to get an admin person, an administrator, to do the liaising with parents, the booking of the timetables, sorting things out if a teacher rang in sick, etc. So that would all be sorted out by this admin person. And I would just have a regular meeting with them to make sure that things were going okay. And then I moved to my location. I decided I wanted to invest in the Northwest in Warrington. I was living in Oxfordshire at the time, and I moved there. And I was like, right, I'm going to do this full time. And that's how I really got going. But it wasn't until about 6 months into investing that I made that decision. So before then, I was going up on weekends. My first 2 properties I bought with my parents, and we found them on a Saturday, both viewings on the same day, offered on them, had the offers accepted on the Monday. So one of those was a buy-to-let, one of those became our first 5-bedroom HMO. And both great projects, both great deals. We've still got them in the portfolio. We've just come to Warrington. We're doing some viewings on a property we've got in the town centre a bit later on tonight. But we thought we'd do a bit of a detour and check out some of our properties, just to check on them, drive past them, make sure they're there in one piece. So this one here is the very first property I bought. It's a 2-bed bungalow in Warrington. If you see me do presentations, I do talk about this one. It's one I absolutely love. We came here off and on for about 8 or 12 weeks whilst we were doing the refurb. Did it myself, mum and dad, stripping the wallpapers, putting it back together again. Had a bit of a handyman to help us do that. But yeah, labour of love. Absolutely love this property. It's done us really well and really reliable over the last 6 years that we've had it. My very first HMO is just down here, and it's a property which we converted from a mid-terrace into a 5-bedroom HMO. We've actually got the kitchen and the upstairs in this particular one because the upstairs floor plan is larger than the downstairs. So see if you can get your head around that one. By getting those deals agreed, I could see that the income was going to come. I could see when the income was going to come as well. So you can then start to forecast your cash flow. So the next burning question you probably got is, how did I finance those first projects? Well, as I told you, I did them, the first 2 with my parents, but they weren't necessarily willing participants. They were eventually, but to begin with, they were very skeptical. They were like, well, what are you getting into property for? You're a musician, we love you, we want to trust you, but all we've seen you as a musician who's got these visions of grandeur and touring the world with bands and so that kind of thing. And it took a while for them to get their heads around the fact that we were going to do property, and I did actually say to them at one point, we're going to do this with or without you. And I think it was then that the penny dropped, that they would say, actually, this guy is serious, they're going to make it happen. And my mum released some money from pensions, so that's where we're able to invest. So maybe someone in your family has access to money from pensions or has access to other savings or other investments, and if you can sell them on your vision, they can then become part of your property adventure, part of your property business to help you really get started. And from that point on, they ran out of money. They had a small pot, to be fair. We weren't buying expensive houses. We weren't spending massive amounts of money on them. So we ran out of money, and from that point on, I've had to raise the money from investors and joint ventures all the way along. And that process has been a steep learning curve, but the money always turns up. It always turns up. As long as you're doing the right actions, those positive property actions, you're going to be putting yourself in the right place, surrounding yourself with the right people for that money to turn up. Because there's so much money out there at the moment. And to be fair, there always will be. So how does that money come to you to help you to grow your business? That's what we need to work out. So it's about getting busy, about getting active. That's the decision that I made. I started to prioritize property over my other business, over my other work. And let's take an example. If I was in a day job, what I would be doing is trying to find ways within my day job to release my time, same as I did with the music school. I'd be looking to find ways to work from home so that I could be more effective in the day job, maybe working half a day, 2/3 of a day, giving me a few hours to work on property, maybe do some viewings. Maybe using my annual leave to go and take a couple of days off work and really smash out like 20 viewings on properties and then putting out 5-10 offers and then going from there. Because it is all about prioritization. When you start in property, you have to put it first. Because if you put it first, above everything else, we're talking job, we're talking family, we're talking hobbies, we're talking holidays. If you put it right at the top, then guess what? For that short period of time where you have to be really active, you will then start to see the results. We're talking small sacrifice for big picture, long-term gain. Now, I'm not talking like we have to ditch absolutely everything. We're not saying that we have to not see family, not go on dates with the other half, not take the holiday. But if there's a decision where you're like, well, I could do either, you go and do the property thing. Because ultimately, in order to be successful in property, we need to take one positive property action every single day. It doesn't take a lot of time, doesn't take a lot of effort, but it requires focused time and focused effort. And for me, what then happened was I grew the portfolio. I then found another HMO, and what I found was being close to where I was investing or being able to get there regularly meant that I was able to build a rapport with those estate agents. I was able to be in the office at the right time, and when you ask the question, oh, do you have anything else that might suit this criteria? I had a very clear hunting brief. I gave it to the agent. I said, do you have anything else that might fit this criteria? And it's when the agent goes, wait a minute, I've just had a call about one. Would you like to go and view it next week? And you go, yes, of course I can. Now, these days, you don't have to go and view it yourself. You could send a viewer, you could send a letting agent on your behalf, a builder on your behalf. If you can't get there, just find a way to make it work and prioritize property first. So hopefully that's been helpful and given you some insight into how I got started and maybe given some nuggets on how you might be able to get started in property. So to get updated about new videos that we do here at the HMO Platform, then please do remember to subscribe to the channel and hit like if you like this one. If you want to ask any more questions about myself, my background, feel free to type them down below and then we'll come back to you. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.